Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a stack of your sources and really try to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, maybe some insight. Everyone stumbles. No one gets through life without hitting bumps in the road, mistakes, setbacks. They're part of the deal, right? But what really matters, what truly sets people apart, isn't the fall itself. It's how we react. That moment you pick yourself up and figure out, okay, what now? Today, we're diving deep into a really powerful framework. It's designed specifically for navigating those tough moments, turning stumbles into stepping stones. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been looking at a source called A Roadmap for Moving Forward by RuiEnglish, and it's really insightful. What I find compelling is that it's not just theory, It gives you practical, really actionable things you can do. It's less about just thinking about coping and more about how you can actually learn and adapt and grow from obstacles instead of, just being stopped by them.
Right. And our mission here, for you listening, is to pull out those core ideas, the stuff that doesn't just sound nice, but that you can actually use. Next time you hit a snag, whether it's something small or a big setback at work, this deep dive, it's all about turning that feeling of disappointment into fuel for real sustained progress.
Mm-hmm.
And the source starts with this powerful guiding idea, like a kind of philosophy for the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. It sets the stage beautifully. It says, own your actions, learn from every fall, face the future with courage and hope, and keep rising until you reach the harvest. It's quite profound, really. It frames the whole thing not as just fixing a problem, but as a continuous journey.
That really flows right into the first big principle, doesn't it?
Mm.
And it touches on something subtle, but honestly, so important how we deal with things going wrong. Think about it. How often do you get caught in that loop of, I should have, or if only I hadn't?
Mm-hmm.
That trap of blaming yourself.
Exactly. And this roadmap offers a way out. The very first point is, 1, don't blame yourself, take responsibility. It calls this a subtle but powerful shift, moving away from beating yourself up, self-criticism, towards actually doing something constructive. The idea is to acknowledge what happened, see your part in it, but then move on from the unproductive guilt.
Okay, but distinguishing between healthy regret that helps you learn and that paralyzing self-blame. That feels tricky sometimes. Does the source give any pointers on how to actually do that?
It does, implicitly. By focusing on responsibility, you're focusing on what you can control, even if it's just your reaction. Blame, whether it's aimed inward or outward, it makes you feel powerless. Responsibility, on the other hand, gives you agency. It gives you the power back. You can change things going forward. The source even brings in Proverbs 19.3. A person's own folly leads to their ruin, yet their heart rages against the Lord.
So pointing fingers, even at yourself sometimes, stops you from actually taking charge.
Precisely. It highlights that tendency we have to look elsewhere, maybe blame fate or others, and actually looking at our own role is what unlocks progress. It's about owning it, not as a way to punish yourself, but as the first step to making things better.
That makes a lot of sense. So step 1, own it, take responsibility. Then what? What do you do with that ownership so you don't just end up back here again? This is where it gets really interesting.
Right, because knowing isn't enough. This leads straight to point 2. Learn from mistakes, but don't repeat them.
Right.
The roadmap is really clear here. Mistakes aren't just failures, they're lessons, often expensive ones. So it's about actively digging into why things went wrong. What were the factors? What specifically needs to change next time? Not just oops, but okay, here's the takeaway.
And the source uses some pretty strong language here, doesn't it, with the Proverbs quote?
It does. Proverbs 26.1. As a dog returns to its vomit, so fools repeat their folly. It's definitely direct.
Wow. Yeah, that's vivid. Why so blunt, do you think? Is it just for shock value?
I think it's meant to cut through our tendency to rationalize, maybe, to really emphasize the difference between just admitting a mistake and truly internalizing the lesson so you break the cycle. It's a stark image, yeah, but it underlines the urgency. Don't just acknowledge, act on the learning, turn that negative experience into like a concrete plan for the future.
Okay, so you take responsibility, you learn the lesson, but then there's that fear, right? The fear of trying again, especially if the fall was bad. We've learned, maybe, but now we're kind of frozen. How does the roadmap address that?
That's point 3. Take new risks. It tackles that fear head on. It acknowledges, yes, past mistakes can make you hesitant. They can hold you back. But it actively encourages taking calculated risks, seeing them not as threats, but as just a necessary part of growing. And what's fascinating here is the emphasis on calculated. It's not about being reckless.
Right. So how do you make that distinction? What makes a risk calculated versus just a gamble?
It's about the prep work, essentially, doing your homework. Have you thought through the potential downsides? Do you have backup plans? Mitigation strategies. It's about knowing the possibilities, weighing them, and going in with your eyes open. The source even suggests exercises like a pre-mortem imagining failure beforehand to anticipate problems. It ties straight into resilience. The roadmap references Proverbs 24.16, "For though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again."
But the wicked stumble when calamity strikes.
Yeah, I see the connection. Falling isn't the issue, staying down is.
Exactly. You're expected to get back up 7 times, symbolically meaning again and again. Each calculated risk, succeed or fail, gives you more data, makes you stronger for the next time.
But getting up again and again, that takes a toll. Emotionally, mentally. It's easy to get discouraged when things just keep not working out. How do you keep your chin up? And that brings us perfectly to point 4. Keep a positive attitude. Now, this isn't about fake positivity, just slapping a smile on things.
Yeah.
The roadmap suggests actively reframing disappointment, trying to see setbacks not as the end of the road, but as maybe minor bumps or even just data points.
Data points. I like that. It takes some of the sting out, makes it more objective, less I'm a failure and more, okay, this approach didn't work. What information did I gain?
Precisely that. It shifts the focus from emotional despair to analytical learning. So if a project fails, instead of spiraling, you ask, what specifically did I learn from this outcome? What information do I have now that I didn't before? It acknowledges you will have setbacks. Everyone does. The key is your response, the meaning you make. And to really underline that internal strength, it quotes 2 Corinthians 4.8-9. Remember, hard-pressed, but not crushed. Perplexed, but not in despair. Struck down, but not destroyed.
Wow. Yeah, that's powerful. Maintaining that inner core even when external stuff is rough.
It captures that spirit perfectly. It's about internal resolve despite the outside pressure.
Okay, so we've got take responsibility, learn actively, dare to take smart risks, and work on reframing setbacks. So what does this all mean? What ties it all together for actual ongoing progress?
It all builds up to the final and perhaps most crucial point. 5, try again and never give up. This is presented as the absolute linchpin, persistent effort. That's what ultimately leads to growth and success. Every time you stumble, the advice is simple. Get up, try again. It's about tenacity. Understanding that success usually isn't one big leap, but lots of small, relentless steps. Consistency is key.
Right. It's not just about bouncing back once. It's about building that habit of perseverance. But how do you keep that going when, like the roadmap says, the harvest feels ages away?
The roadmap frames it as an investment. You keep putting in the effort, and eventually there will be a return, provided you don't quit. That's where Galatians 6.9 comes in. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. It's a promise, really, a promise tied to persistence. It encourages that long-term view.
So it's not just 5 separate steps then?
Not at all, and this is maybe the most insightful part. The source explicitly describes how they all link together, how they feed each other. It says, responsibility fuels learning. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Learning fuels risk-taking. Because you know more, you can risk smarter.
Okay.
Risk-taking requires positivity to handle the inevitable bumps. Positivity sustains persistence, keeps you going, and persistence leads back to more responsibility and learning. As you keep trying, you encounter new situations. Learn more, take more ownership.
So it's a cycle, a continuous loop, not just a straight line.
Exactly. A dynamic loop of growth. Understanding that cycle, really internalizing it, can change how you approach any challenge, big or small. Because you see how every part feeds the next. You're not just recovering, you're building this resilient system within yourself.
What a fantastic framework. We've really journeyed through this roadmap for moving forward. Taking responsibility, not blame. Learning, really learning from mistakes. Daring to take those calculated risks. Keeping your attitude positive by reframing things. And just trying again, relentlessly. It's more than just steps, isn't it? It really is a mindset, a system for always moving forward.
It truly is. And thinking about that continuous loop, that cycle, it brings up a really interesting question for you, the listener. How might embracing this whole roadmap change how you even define success? Maybe it becomes less about hitting some final destination and more about being in that perpetual state of growth, always learning, always moving towards that harvest, always becoming, stronger and more capable.
That's a great thought to leave everyone with. Really makes you think. Thank you for joining us on